Here's the 4-value notan that I'm going to be tracing from. I love using the Notanizer app. You can separate it into 2 values, just black and white, 3, 4, I think all the way up to 10. And it's really easy to trace from this, as you can see exactly where the values change, and that's where I'm going to be tracing. So I've got my paper attached to the board, and then now I'm going to I'll start down here. And then I've got my graphite paper that I put in between with the dark side facing down, and then just start tracing. Okay, I think I've finished tracing. Oh, I've got a couple of spots that I missed here. I always use a different colored pens to make it easier to see where I've been. If I used a black pen, it might be difficult for me to see, well, did I get this spot or not? I always lift it up throughout just to see if I look like I've missed anything, and I don't think I have. Yeah, I think it's good enough. This is a really simple way of doing a flower, or really anything. Take a photo, convert it to 2, 3, or 4 values, and then just use one color and paint those values. So I've decided, I know the reference photograph is kind of a yellowish rose, and I've decided to use pink. I'm using permanent rose. I think that's pretty appropriate. So I've got some permanent rose. Let me see see, that's very light. Once I spread it all around, it'll be very light for the first. So I'm just gonna go over the whole thing with this permanent rose. I probably should have used a larger brush. A flat brush would have made this a lot faster. Add a little more water here. A little more water. Yeah, a flat brush would have been faster, but that's okay. Use whatever you have. Now oops, knocked the camera. Whoa. I was a banker, not a photographer. Okay, so where you see on the reference photo here where it's super, super light, I'm going to take a damp brush and just lift up some, just in some of the places. Each time I do, I'm going to wipe it off on this paper towel. You see how it's lifting up some of the paint, some of the pigment? You don't have much time to do this because it's drying pretty quickly. I think that's good enough. See, you've got some hard lines here, but I'm not going to worry about that because this is going to be very dark in there. So I don't worry about hard lines anyway. I just enjoy painting. Let it dry. Okay, it's dry. It's already pretty. It's such a pretty color. Okay, so I've mixed up a little bit more paint, a little less water, more pigment. You can see how darker it is than what we originally had. So now I'm going to focus on the dark, the gray and the black areas, and I'm just going to paint everywhere it is either gray or black. This is the second layer. And sometimes it's hard to see exactly where should I be painting. I just don't worry about it. If I do it perfectly, then that's great. If not, I do not worry about it. I'm already kind of lost. Where am I on this thing? But that's okay. It'll look like a rose when it's done. And if I give this to somebody, I won't say, well, this is what it's supposed to look like, so, critique it. I won't do that. It'll look like a rose. I have to kind of point my finger. Where am I? Okay, that is that. So, okay. I get lost. Like I said, if I miss something, I do not worry about it. Okay, now we're getting these shadows under the petals here. Normally I will take a kneaded eraser and remove some of the graphite marks so that the lines aren't so dark, but it's easier to do this if you can see the lines really well, so I'm not going to worry about it. The graphite will just add a different texture to this, and that's okay. Let's see. I'm not going to worry about this because I'm going to use a really dark paint down here for the bottom. So that is layer 2. It's not perfect, but it's starting to look like a rose. I use this heated tool, craft tool. It's better than a blow dryer because it doesn't blow the paint around. It doesn't have a strong blower, but it has a lot of heat and it dries it pretty fast. And it is not super noisy. I won't make you listen to me dry this, so I'll be back. Okay, so now we're going to work on the third layer. I've got some more paint here. It's a little bit more pigmented than the other. I'll wipe across here so that you can see it's a little bit darker than that. Not a whole lot, but if it's, I think it's good enough. So now we're going to focus on the dark gray and the black areas. Just go over this area again and go wherever there is the dark gray. This is such a great way to paint because the colors are, the values are mapped out for you. Okay, so let's do and this center area. I'm trying to be a little bit more careful where I paint, but I'm not perfect. Okay, where's some more of them? Helps to have my finger as a bookmark. Like, where am I? I get lost. I think I went somewhere I shouldn't have gone, but that's okay. Rinse my brush out, do a little lifting over here. Not much lifted up, that's okay. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, there's a little darker here. That's the darker gray. We've got some in here. As you can see, I'm not being like a perfectionist, which is really in my nature to be that way. But since I've started painting, I have learned that perfection is overrated. Okay, let's see. We've got a few more here. A little bit there. I didn't mix up enough paint. I always do that. That is me. Okay, I've got a damp brush here, and I'm just going to kind of smooth a little bit of these edges down here. Again, I'm not going to worry about this dark area. Okay, it's looking more and more like a rose. Okay, we're going to let this layer dry. Now I've got my garbage bowl out. I have a YouTube quick video about this. I pour all my extra paint into this. So I mixed a little bit of this into the permanent rose to get a very dark value, and it created a very dark purplish pink. So I think I might need a little bit more of this in here. I want it pretty dark. Okay, so this is the last layer, so now I'm only going to go where I see the black. Let's see how dark this is. Oh yeah, that's pretty dark. I think I missed some values in here, so I'm going to use a wet brush and kind of bring that on in here. Now these little places, I'm just going to dab just a little bit of the paint and then come back with a damp brush and soften the edges like that. So whenever I do the damp brush, I shake it in the water, and then I'm always going to dab it on a paper towel or sponge or something to take a lot of the water off, because you can flood this thing with too much water if you're not careful. Let's see, which I did right there, it looks like. So I'm going to dab a little bit of that up, and I'll deal with that in a minute. Soften these edges. Wipe it on my towel. couple of more over here. Okay, now to dry it and make any changes. I don't like how this is looking right here. I just kind of smeared that on out there. Okay, that's better. Okay, now to dry. Okay, so this dark is dry. I think one layer is enough for that. It's really pretty dark. So what I've got here is just a black and white photo. And what I want to do here is kind of add some accent to where it's really dark on the rose, and then smooth the edge out. Put some here, 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 just a little bit to make it a little more realistic. It's sort of a stylized the way it is. I mean, I think it's pretty the way it is. It's so pretty. It's a pink rose, but I'm going to add just a little bit more to it with this dark. I added some of this dark to this rose, permanent rose. Okay, it's pretty dark now. And I'm just going where it's the darkest, and then I will smooth it out with a damp brush. It's very dark in here. Get a different brush. That one was annoying me. Just in this bottom part, the center here, and then smooth it out. Each time I get it wet, I'm dabbing off the excess water. Okay, a little bit over here. Bit right here. Let's see. I think that's probably good enough, so let's dry it and see what it looks like. Okay, I think it's good enough. So let's take off the tape and take a look at it. Okay, there it is. From across the room, it will look like a rose. I just love it. It's so pretty. I just love the pink. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you paint lots of roses using different colors, yellows, pinks, purples, peaches, orange, all the different rose colors. It'd be pretty this way. Just using 4 values. That's what we used. Okay, this is the finished painting side by side with the black and white photo. So there are different things, several things that I could have done differently. You can see the pencil line here, or the graphite line, pretty strong here. I could have used a kneaded eraser to lighten that before painting, but I wanted y'all to be able to see the lines real easily on on this tutorial. Another thing is, I don't know what I was doing over here. It's just, it is really kind of messy. But when you look at the whole thing, it does read like a rose. Another thing I think I would do differently is not to mark every line from the outline. I would just do the main edges of the rose and then just look at the reference photo for where I put the darker values. That would make a cleaner look to it. But all in all, I think it looks pretty, and it's pink. It's a rose, so it's all good.